right, guys, here we are. It is IPL Fight Club. I am Doe, of course. With me is Ask Joshi, as he has been quite often recently. But let's go ahead and introduce our players here. In the upper right, we have our Zerg player from the team Coronte Esports Club in Spain. It is the little brother of Warcraft 3 icon Lucifron. It is VortiX. And down at the bottom left, we have our Protoss player from the team StarTale, doing very, very well in events both in Korea and internationally recently, the impressive StarTale.Squirtle.
Yep, Squirtle obviously had a very, very hot streak recently in IPL 4 and GSL, only losing a handful of games among both tournaments. Got second place in each of them, one to Fnatic Alive and the other to IGNProLeague. So he went a really, really long way just to lose to some fantastic Terran players, but no Terran players in this match.
No, this
only
is all
Zerg
PvZ
and Protoss.
And you know, as Terran players have kind of seemed to struggle a little bit in StarCraft 2, we've been seeing, you know, a lot more PvZ. Now, Squirtle is definitely a cool player to watch in Protoss versus Zerg. He really likes to mix things up. He's got a good mix of longer macro gameplays and a good mix of 2-base all-ins. Loves the 3 Immortal push like many Protoss do. He also really enjoys going for actually a 7-gate +1 off of 2 bases is something that I've seen him do quite a bit lately. On the VortiX side of things, he generally tends to play pretty standard TVZ, or well, ZVP rather, because that's a matchup that we're actually talking about. And so we'll have to see, you know, what decisions he decides to make in this game. It seems like he's more of a player to try to go for the late game trek rather than to just max out on roaches and things like that, even though that's kind of popular, it seems like, in the European scene. VortiX opting, in the games I've seen anyway, to play a little bit more more macro-oriented, more standard. That probe is getting low, man.
Yeah, that probe is actually not able to drop a pylon at all to try and block off that hatchery. VortiX actually did a good job chasing him around, and
he failed.
You don't actually see that too often, 2 drones pulled to deal with it. I mean, that actually makes a lot of sense. I don't even see it that often. Usually they pull 1 drone and either wait it out or, wait it out and start some lings going, or a queen or a spinecrawler or something like that to help deal with it. Not a spinecrawler, but maybe defensively against Terran. But
that's kind of overkill to get a spinecrawler to deal with that harassing probe.
They just go 1-base hive to deal with that pylon.
This probe.
Once they get ultras out, then they can expand,
That's right. Well,
safely.
The viability of probes in combat really does diminish when you get Ultralisks out on the field. That's true. As we all know, Ultralisks are the hard counter to probes.
And pylons.
That's right. Probes, pylons, pretty much anything that's on the ground, except for Marauders. Ultralisks do pretty well against them. So it looks like we had, I believe it was a 15 Nexus for Squirtle, going up to that 17 Forge and Gateway. Pretty normal stuff from him as well, so we'll have to kind of keep an eye on what he decides to go for after these 2 gases are done. If he's going to go for a quick +1 or possibly even a Stargate. He does do a Stargate every once in a while. Usually that's more part of his macro play. But we do have 3 bases going up for VortiX, just a scouting Zergling trying to find that probe, but alas, there is no probe to be found, so he will search in vain.
Well, at least he's covering a lot of ground, too, to look for any hidden pylons or anything like that. This is about a time Squirtle would be setting up for 4-gate or something like that if he was hiding pylons somewhere. That would be a good way to discover it. But VortiX doesn't have to fear that, really, so he's actually going to have enough time to get up this 3rd base before Squirtle's ready to try and dispatch any of those. So both players gearing up, just leaving each other alone for the most part. Looks like not Bomber.
Different
Squirtle. Squirtle is going to be coming in, checking things out. And was that a Zerg? Did the Zergling just get eaten? Oh,
nope.
No.
I'm pointing at the +1 that Squirtle's just started. Yeah, he is going to be going for some early aggression, it looks like. Probably going to see some more gates. I mean, this is a map, too, that you can do that. That 7-gate +1 that I was talking about a little bit earlier. I went back and reviewed some of his other series, and just in his match against Coca last week, he actually ended up doing it twice. But no, it's actually going to be a robotics facility going down for Squirtle, and then looks like 1 gas. Are we going to see another one at the natural or not? That's kind of the big question here. Because basically, if he starts making Immortals right away, then we could see that Immortal push as well. But we'll have to see. He is sitting on 3 gas, not 4 or anything like that. And usually when you see this Immortal push, it's 2 gas, a little bit longer in the main base. So we will see what he decides to make.
Well, we've got the Roach Warren coming up now for VortiX. Still no lair, so not going to be gunning it for that Roach speed extremely quickly. Evolution Chamber coming up as well, probably going to be timing those upgrades and stuff. So I imagine the lair will be coming up soon. He is going to need some more gas, basically, to be able to handle all that. And Squirtle adding on 3 more gates, so everything shaping up essentially what you said.
Interesting. The Overlord does see the robotics facility, though, just when it starts, and it's actually going to be a Warp Prism. Okay, so we're going to see some Warp Prism harassment, it looks like. Nothing too crazy, just off of 4 bases. And let's see, he does have 41 probes, so...
And that layer did get started for VortiX, so he is going to be able to support all those upgrades. He's already got +1 range started. Can't do the roach speed yet, but for now, looks like he's just macroing up still, just content to keep making drones, overlords. Here comes another hatch. This will be his macro hatch just outside the natural. So he's got, you know, lots of breathing room, apparently. He saw everything with his overlords, knows that Squirtle doesn't have like some massive force ready to destroy him yet, knock down the doors. He needs to be aware. Oh, the Warp Prism, I think, is flying right past an overlord. Yep, oh man, he saw that. So how's he going to be able to? How's he going to be able to defend this though at his third? Impossible.
Well, if you look at the unit counting station right now, he only has 10 Zerglings, so he is going to need to make some more units. He's got 4 roaches on the way. This type of thing isn't usually actually
nice
with that
over.
Those force fields. Oh, she barely squeezes through. Those Pilates have definitely been paying off for that queen.
Oh, that poor roach.
That's right.
Immediately surrounded and slaughtered, and they're going to try and take out the hatch, but all these drones coming back to try and deal with it. This is dangerous, though. Obviously, Squirtle could just warp in some more stuff. He might just pack up. Yeah, you can see him lifting a couple of sentries back up before doing a warp in. Yeah, that was actually great micro from Squirtle, keeping everything alive. This third hatch doesn't really seem to stand much of a chance at the moment.
Yeah, oh, look at those force fields trapping the roaches against the Zealots. But you know what? I think Squirtle may need a little bit more to deal with this. And yeah, he's going to go ahead and make a run for it, I think. Maybe just waiting for another warp in, a round of Stalkers would help as well. But yeah, he's just going to get out of there. Good decision by Squirtle, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see a third base taken fairly soon. But he is making some Immortals and going for a second Forge and a Twilight Council right now as well. So, yeah, it looks like things didn't work out. He is at 53 probes, so this wasn't like an all-in or anything like that. He did kind of continue making workers for more or less the entire thing, too. So that type of thing that we saw, it's not really a kill move. It's not an all-in. It's just kind of a pressure on the third base. We've seen it work devastatingly well in the past, but most good Zergs, you know, if they do see it coming like VortiX did, are able to handle that with a little bit of a decent micro.
Man, if he was able to bring an Immortal along, I think it could have even gotten a hatchery with the few roaches that were there. It's possible. I think he could have gunned it down in time. He
had a chance in the beginning. I mean, it was there were not a lot of units when he showed up, but VortiX responded just really, really well. Always made sure he was microing those roaches. Well, that poor Zergling was so brave. But he does...
Huge numbers of roaches actually in production now.
Yeah, exactly. I think we might see VortiX get pretty aggressive here. He's getting +1 carapace. Did he get +1 weapons? No, he got +1 missile attacks first. Weapons being ground weapons that I was referring to.
So he's marching along. Did Zergling speed just finish? They look slow until just now.
I believe so, yeah. I usually do get it later.
Yeah, so he's making his march. Actually, he must have seen something back in his base, or I'm not sure. Oh, there's something going on at the main. That might have just been, another Warp Prism harassment.
Doesn't look like it did a whole lot.
Nope, don't really see any damaged units or anything like that, so VortiX keeping tabs on everything. He did have control of the Xel'Naga towers, so may have seen that on the way in.
Oh, Zergling check zone sees that there's still no third base here, so VortiX may be getting a little bit suspicious, and no probe being sent out there to take that either, except for that one that's already there.
And both players actually just moving stuff all around the map right now, scouting each other, trying to find the weakest front, basically, to try and do some damage. The Observer overhead lets him kill a couple of Creep Timmers and get out safely. I like that little maneuver.
That's awesome.
That clears the Creeper on the Xel'Naga tower, specifically.
It's a really good move. It kind of reminds me of Cloaked Banshee and Hellion that we see sometimes in TVZ lately. They'll scanner, they'll have even a Raven with it sometimes, and just kind of being annoying with the creep.
Okay, so now we have 2 big troop movements. That's a ton of sentries actually for Squirtle. He would be in a great position if he could just move to the right a little bit there. That Warp Prism still staying active. There's no anti-air here except for these queens to try and deal with this Warp Prism, and Squirtle's micro just keeping all those units alive. Here come the mass force fields and Guardian Shield that we expect. Roaches getting sequestered off from each other over and over, and you can see there's just little pockets of roaches now that Squirtle can just easily move in and try to take out there. That Colossus is definitely going to start helping immensely when all these lings start rushing. Wow, more roaches, ton of roaches coming from the bottom side, but the sentries still have so much energy they can just keep them all at bay.
No kidding,
out
but
of
will
range
it be
of those
enough?
Immortals, as Immortals are just doing crazy damage.
Oh man, 1 Immortal down, 2 left right now, and he's going after the Colossi. The Colossi does go down. So
Blink, he's blinking his Stalkers too. Everything he's doing is just so I don't know, focused, keeping everything alive as long as it can. All the Immortals do go down, but it's really hard to micro them safely away. So
he did lose some very expensive units there, hence the third base, hence Squirtle is going to try to kind of sit back and play a little bit more defensive, it looks like. Still harassing, look at this. These Zealots are still alive, man. These guys are champions. Wow, I wish I could select them and Just like give them an awesome name like Legend Zealot or something.
Well, Executor is like 25
Executor
kills
Zealot.
or something like that. I don't know if they'll get to 25 kills, but they're at least...
They're on the way.
They're serving a big purpose, though, which is keeping VortiX occupied all the time.
Still harassing. Oh, man, that Queen getting so low. And a Stalker
no.
there as
And the
well. Oh, the Queen.
The biggest blink of all time kills
but at the same
Queen.
time, I cut away a little bit too early, but it doesn't matter because VortiX is coming in right now. But does he have enough? The force fields are still so good for Squirtle. Yeah, and VortiX definitely needs to pull back a little bit here.
He does have Burrow complete, so he might be able to try to do something sneaky with that. But man, the Zealots escape yet again, and now they have a Stalker buddy helping them distract. And now VortiX just looking a little bit overwhelmed here at the front of Squirtle's base. That is a huge number of Stalkers, and with Blink, they're able to just stay alive so well. He's got Burrow, but doesn't seem to be using it. He doesn't know where observers are, so he may have just thought there was no way that he was going to get out of there anyway.
He's 1-1 to 2-2 right now as well with his upgrades. Although by the same token, look at this, still doing more.
They're back at it, and that's a new Zealot too, totally healed up.
It
full
is.
Health.
It is.
So he is just, you know, putting so much effort and so much attention into this Warp Prism, and it's doing so much damage that Warp Prism is still alive. I can't believe it. And it's got full health and shield.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like trying to click on it, but yeah, it hasn't taken any damage yet at all. Any shield damage it's taken has been healed. That's pretty crazy.
And
but
I have to imagine he's just going to bounce right into the main once these roaches arrive. Yeah, he's already swinging back in. So VortiX needs to just try and drop the hammer while he's maxed. He can't just keep going back to his base all the time. He's going to have to try and flank here, but look at this huge number of Stalkers with Blink.
Trying to distract him. Here come the roaches at the third, and it doesn't look like he's going to get enough damage before the army comes back, but he does have more roaches coming in this way. Man, he's doing such a good job of killing all the sentries, immortals, things like that. Putting a lot of pressure on his opponent, but will it be enough? Oh, he does get the Cyber Core.
He's forcing decisions here out of Squirtle, which is nice. Does he try to save his third base, or does he try to save that tech at the natural? But he's going to lose all those roaches. That's basically a sunk cost. He does. I think he needs to reform. Yeah, retreat is a good idea here. It looks like the main base, nothing's really been happening. Now that Warp Prism is sitting idle. That Queen could have been shooting away at it, but he's got better things to focus on. Now he's flipping over once the conflict is done over at the third and natural base.
Or he might need him here.
He needs all the warp ends, so he really can't even justify warping in a couple of units if he needs them.
Oh, look at this VortiX.
Roaches are just relentless, man. Approaching from all sides. Even on the minimap, you can see them streaming in from all three bases.
This really seems like kind of the typical EU style to play with roaches. I mean, just send them at lots of different locations at once. Try to keep pressuring different areas, split up your opponent's attention, and kind of eventually get an edge through that. We've seen players like Stefano and Nurcio do this style and be very successful with it too. But that Warp Prism still not doing anything. It's a lazy Warp Prism. Look at this, has no kills.
He just doesn't. Yeah, he can't justify warping anything in. He's just warping in 6 Stalkers at a time at his main, or at his third, excuse me.
He needs them at home. He doesn't know, when the reinforcements from the Zerg player are going to be too much. But here's the thing is that VortiX's fourth base here has never really been able to do that much mining. So he is starting to run out of resources a little bit, and Squirtle continues to gain on him in supply count as well. He's also getting 3-3, whereas these roaches are still just 1-1. So VortiX, I feel like, even with all this pressure, he's eventually going to run out of steam, and that actually might not be too far off.
I was just going to say the infestation pit coming in now, I was wondering if he missed his window to actually build an infestation pit and try to get those infestors into play, because with all this attacking that he's doing, he's just been spending constantly on roaches. It leaves his gas count pretty low. You can see he's almost 3K minerals, but that gas count keeps getting low. So he has built a new wave of lings to help out against these Blink Stalkers and these immortals instead of the sort of gas, not intensive, but, gas cost roaches.
Using a lot of lings on those Zealots, though, it doesn't work out terribly well, and VortiX forced back yet again. Man, Squirtle just holding after wave of aggression, and he's like, man, I'd love to use this Warp Prism.
I really want him to kill the Warp Prism.
The Queen sees it. How does he not notice this?
Just kill it. No, now he's leaving.
He's like, I'm getting out of here, man.
Warp Prism heard us talking about it. He's like, oh, me? Oh, I'm out of here.
It's getting too hot.
Yeah. Don't leave me hanging.
That's right. Don't leave me hanging.
7 Spine Crawlers in production now for VortiX, so he is actually switching from pure roach aggression to I need to stay alive for the next 5 minutes so that I can get a bunch of infestors out.
He kind of needs to. I mean, that's the thing, is that he's switching into it so late, though, that's going to make it a little bit difficult. He's not getting it until the 20-minute mark right now is when he's finally getting those passionate glands, or pathogen glands, rather. Sometimes I do want to call them passionate glands. The passionate glands.
That's disgusting.
I know, it does.
Roaches, kill that Warp Prism. Just barf up.
Jump. Just Warp Prism's just watching.
Vomit upwards. Yeah, it's just going to tail him because there's no anti-air. 3 infestors on the way.
Can I be a Mutalisk?
Hive is going to be in production now for VortiX. He's got 14 drones coming now.
What is he doing with this Warp Prism?
VortiX is like, my attack didn't kill him. I'll build 14 drones.
He led me into a trap. How clever. These roaches are so smart.
Roaches, man, they're
Automaton doesn't want to have anything to do with this.
Oh,
Squirtle
goodness.
moving out now. He's got 4 Immortals. He's got 3-3.
3-3.
This is the time to try to kill your opponent. And here we go. VortiX moving in with a large amount of roaches himself, and he's still just 1-1, though.
He's trying to focus those Immortals. Not a bad decision, except there's so many blue lasers coming from those Stalkers. It's going to be really, really hard to do anything. Fungal should be available. There you go.
There it is.
Lands was finished on time, so here comes some decent Fungals. Looks like he's not going to be able to lock anything down. I think each of those Infestors already used their 1 Fungal that they come standard with, and only 1 more in production now. Stalker's just covering this whole line. This is like the biggest concave ever to siege 1 hatchery.
Seriously, this is like Roach versus Roach ZVZ is when you see these giant, like, square dance lines of units. And GG, there it